I'm very excited to say the least. You can see gleam in my on my face, in my eyes. I've been trying to get you Raga Olga D'silva for such a long time. So thank you for taking out your precious moments from all the way from London to be on my podcast, which is Second Act podcast. This podcast is all about bringing in something which can inspire somebody else through your second act. So I know, Raga, that you just came out in the open very recently as a gay person. Very fascinating. Again, you've written a book, Untold Lies. I'm really wanting to read it as well and know all about what's written there and you. Welcome to the show. And please tell us, like, what the way that you would want to introduce yourself.
First of all, I think I love the introduction you gave. I was just listening, or kya. So, Archana, thank you, first of all, for having me as part of Second Act. That means a lot to me. That glow that I can see in your eyes, I think it's basically, it's reflecting back at me. I think that's the number two thing that I really wanted to say. I'm really happy to be here. I normally don't like doing podcasts or, Insta Live. I restrain myself from it because there are too many of them. But I think something about your energy, I think that's why I came back and said, I'll do it. And I'm glad we haven't even met. So I'm pleased that we are doing this interaction.
Right.
And life has been beautiful, magical, like I say. Even when things are very difficult for me, the way the lens that I wear is a lens of magic. And I actually discovered this about myself when I was very little, about 6 years old, when I was already beginning to face challenges in my life. And that's what my book, Untold Lies, talks about.
Wow.
That very early on at 6, I realized what was happening. My life was very difficult. But at 6, I had, and how do you create magic in your life? How do you believe at 6 that that's magic, first of all? Right? It's just by simply getting into a world of fantasy. At that age, I discovered that if I had to run away from anything, I had to think about Bollywood, whatever movies we were able to watch on a little television in the neighbor's house somewhere, black and white TV those days, or whatever little pleasures and joys that were given to me. Maybe a slice of bread that if I was hungry for 3 days and I was given a slice of bread after 3 days, so that would give me joy and I would think, oh, there is magic. So that's how I've lived my life. And my book is about that, there are 9 stories in the book that talk about my growing up and all phases that every person goes through, not just a woman, more so a woman, I think. Childhood, what shapes you, how people label you, how then you live those labels all your life. Then you keep on receiving more labels and you keep on thinking that is who you are. Ultimately, one day you stop and say, actually, this is not me. This is what people thought. And this is the version they created of me. So your second act, that name goes really well for my talk because it is a second act for me. So my first act was what the life I lived.
Right.
Basis the version that people created of me. And my second act is the life that I choose to live now, the version that I know is true to me. So that's your short, long answer.
No, it's inspirational just to hear it. And I can't wait to understand it even better when you start speaking in detail about it. The book fascinated me, of course. So, starting from, of course, what you've mentioned in the book, Untold Lies, from where does this name strike you? And what is Untold Lies?
I don't think any one of us speaks the full truth. Right from when we are when we're little kids, we are told to brush things under the carpet. And I say, in particular, the South Asian community, I think we have the biggest closets in the world because everything gets put in the closet, right? Isko band kar do. Ye nahi ho raha hai. Your father is not hitting me. No, we don't have violence in the family. Or we don't, eat certain things. Or we don't say certain things about certain people. So whatever those things come out of us, we hide them from ourselves and from our society. So I thought to myself, I have read so much all my life. I felt that I was beginning to be a one big lie. And I didn't know who was I? I actually didn't know who I was for the longest time. That discovery made me realize that actually I'm living a lie, not just by sexuality. बहुत सारी चीजें. I mean, I think you would relate to it and I think our audience would relate to it. Yeah. And I said, I need to write about an untold lie. And maybe hopefully through that, I will write all my truth or whatever the truth I'm able to disclose. I'm yet not able to disclose all the truth. And that's why, and I thought people said, oh, what is untold and what is a lie? Untold lies, almost it should be an untold truth. I said, no, untold lies. It's untold. Until it's untold, it's a lie. then it becomes the truth.
So nice. So when did you release the book?
It was published in September 2019, and I was very grateful because Dr. Shashi Tharoor unveiled my book and at a literature festival. And I don't know what happened. Suddenly, the media and the book was in a very chotu kind of unveiling. It was not a big book launch, and nobody, like no media was present either. But somehow the media got hold of the story of this crazy 50-year-old who should be retiring in life and had suddenly come out, as we say. And suddenly the media were like the humans of Bombay, Brute India, Barkha Dutt's We the Women, and like the media went mad. I think the media would have gone madder if the lockdown had not happened. I had to come back from India to London where I live. So in those 4 months, it was a very interesting journey to go through because even I started learning about myself, even through that journey. When we hide our truth, it's so deeply hidden, it's so deeply locked that when
Right.
you unlock it, you think you have unlocked it and you have now living a liberated life. But it's a process. Even after 1.5 years, I'm writing my memoirs, my second book. I'm discovering many things about myself that I didn't even know. And it's
Exactly.
beautiful.
And I think that's also what I'm learning ever since I started Second Act, that the art of expression to self, brings in so many discoveries. And also, we understand from the space that we are coming from. It's come as late to you as that, and same with me. And that's why I think the second act is beautiful. So I'm really glad that you're speaking and open because so many of us are still not able to, So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they get encouraged and inspired by what you're speaking and what you've written. Tell me a little bit about your journey. I mean, are you from India? How did you reach all the way to London? Then I'll
Yes, I'm very much from India. I grew up in Mumbai and I grew up in a very, very humble family. My mom and dad had eloped to get married. So they were basically, my dad was not, he was ostracized from his family. He was out,
Okay.
thrown out, as they do in India. This is a long time ago, of course. 1960s, they got married. So we lived in a very small house. Like made a reference earlier, and it's in my book, like I said. I grew up in a family without food, without books. My study material, my reading material came from a chanawala's chana packet, that
Wow.
puri. So that's how I actually self-taught myself. Of course, I went to a really good convent school, which nobody has ever heard of, where we had fantastic teachers. We had very good education. I wouldn't say
Hmm.
we didn't, but it was just a regular school, which you strict priests, and stuff. And then I self-taught myself. Like I said, I educated myself. My father died when I was very young. I was 6 years old. And it's sad, but it's also, in a way, a blessing for all of us because my father was an alcoholic and was bringing the family down. So somehow in all that poverty stuff, one determination that I had is that I wanted to get out of it. And I did. I can't say I planned my life, but I planned an attitude in my life, let's say. एक radio frequency डाल दी, and I told myself that I have to keep changing that frequency every day, and I changed it every day. Of
Wow.
course, at that time, I did not know, but I think that's why I said I was very fortunate that I got this attitude at a very young age. So then I got into advertising against my family's wish because my mother, Catholic hai, to you have to become a secretary. And no, I got into advertising. So that kind of broke
Very
everybody's heart.
progressive.
No, because at that time in Mumbai, remember, advertising was only for the affluent. They didn't connect with people like us. We were not
Right.
affluent. I got into that world and I did lots of other things. 2000, I got married. We had twins. I have a son and a daughter. In 98, they were born. So now they're 23 years old. We, as a family, my ex-husband and I and the kids, we went to New Zealand to start a new life. I
Oh,
lived in New Zealand for 10 years. Ever since the last 10 years, I've lived in the UK. And I spent a couple of years in India as well. So journey has been very interesting. So I've traveled the world on work. I created opportunities for myself, let's say, that brought me in contact with people that I would never have ever met. I set up a business where I work with thought leaders from around the world. The top
wow.
guys I've worked with, Edward de Bono, Stephen Covey, Deepak Chopra, like
Wow.
dozens of events with them. I work with celebrities in India now. So that became my life. That became my lifestyle. I learned a lot what not to be thanks to them.
Yeah, every day. What not to be. So you got married to like as a regular couple and you had
Yes, yes.
babies regular
Yes.
couple has. And
Yes.
then now you stay with female partner, if I'm not mistaken. So how
Yes.
did that transition happen?
It's a very long story, but I'll try and shorten it.
Yeah,
I've
I'm
kind of,
very curious. Yes.
my memoir says a lot, and my TEDx talk, 50 and Out, actually gives more information.
Okay.
But I think I always was, interested or attracted to women. But remember that we come from a time when these things were not discussed, not understood. The word gay, lesbian, I don't even know. Like I've said, the word gay meant you're happy.
Yeah.
Homosexual, the word homosexual is a negative word, and men were called homos and were abused and ridiculed, right? So what we call in our community and in the terminology that we use is called internalized homophobia,
Yeah.
which means that you're so homophobic towards your own self because of whatever conditioning you've had, that you become homophobic towards your own self. So you don't come out, you don't accept your identity because you don't know what you will have to go through because of what you've seen others go through. Right. So that happened with me. I got married to my best friend, very happily married, let me say. But we went to New Zealand. Things were not working out for us. We were going apart. So there are two parts. One is that the marriage was not working out at all. So it was not that I met somebody, decided overnight, chalo ab I'm going to be a lesbian
हाँ.
overnight. ऐसे नहीं हुआ.
हाँ.
ऐसे हुआ नहीं. That's what people want to believe because we watch too many Bollywood films.
हमारा
So what happened?
एक्सपोजर ही वही है, हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हमें तो वही
हाँ
पता
हाँ, वो
है.
एक्साइटमेंट, वी वांट दिस एक्साइटमेंट, वी थिंक एवरीथिंग इज ऐसे एक्साइटमेंट हो जाता है, कुछ
हाँ,
ड्रामा चाहिए अपने को ना, वी वांट ड्रामा इन लाइफ. It
बिल्कुल.
was not that dramatic. Our marriage was, we were struggling with our marriage. That was getting over. We were separating. And the trauma of that, as you would understand as a woman, is very deep because it's always the woman's fault, as you know. My
Yeah.
mother said to me, does he drink? Is he an alcoholic? Does he beat you? Does he abuse you? Doesn't he look after you? And I had no response to that. Then stay, no, she said, pretend. Bacche hai, what will the kids do? So that's what, if you know, in our culture, in our society, most of the women are living this lie that I say.
Yeah.
A lot of us,
All
I'm
the
not
time.
saying all, a lot of us live that lie. I chose not to. I didn't want to. I said I was financially independent. I had fantastic life. Why would I want to compromise after trying really, really, really hard for many years? And we were going through the separation. And then at one point, when the marriage was over, I thought to myself, let me explore that part of me that I had never explored. And that came because in New Zealand, it's a very liberal country. If you saw two men together, two women together holding hands and even showing PDA, public display of affection, it was all right. It was not considered, ye kya hai? Nobody raised an eyebrow. So I just thought, try karte, let it just sort of, but it didn't happen overnight. Very, because pata hi nahi hai what it is. So slowly, I kind of, a friend told me, I started meeting women, I started feeling comfortable. Then I thought maybe this is something I should pursue. There was nothing wrong in it. And then the drama that unfolded after that, you don't want to know. Because it is a process, because then you suddenly start thinking about your family, your children, because women, we are made like that, right? What will happen to the children? What will society say? Am I causing shame, bringing shame? I felt I disappointed my family. If the marriage breakup ho gaya, then I'm thinking of being with a woman, dating women.
Interesting. Yes.
It was a very hard 4 5 years of a very dark journey.
And now, are your kids settled with this feeling more than
My kids
anything?
have always been settled, Archana. See, that's another thing I want the audience to understand. It is us, adults, who have all these problems, all these limitations that we said, barriers we said. It is us because we think too much. We think about log kya kahenge, right? Children don't think like that. Children want an environment that makes them happy, where they can find love. If a household is in conflict all the time, there is violence, you will see unhappy children, and they will they will do things that they will rebel, right? We all do.
Right.
But in our house, we didn't have that. We didn't have conflict. We had love. Whether I was with my ex-husband or with my current partner of 15 years now, we always had a lot of harmony and love. And that's what I chose. So children grew up like that.
Nice.
Children don't understand this gay, lesbian, heterosexual, homosexual world. They just know a world of love.
And that's how it should be.
It is. It should be like this. Yes, of all these limitations we put. I don't know why we do that. Everybody should have a second act every day.
Beautiful. This will become my headline. for the podcast. Thank you. Thank you. But it's really insightful to speak to you. And I have so many questions. And I'm sure that so many people who interact with you tell you as well that they want to know more because this is a new world for us. I've also, through my podcast, met some very lovely people, from, I would say, your side of the world or the inclusive side of the world that I'm broadening my scope of inclusion every day as well. So thank you for speaking so openly because not everybody does. And I think humans are the most, convoluted and
Yeah.
complex and layered people. So if somebody can come out
Sure.
like this, it's great.
So thank you for listening, Archana. One other thing I'll add here, it's like we all think that we are not marginalized. We all think that I have it all, but poor disabled person, poor gay person,
Mhm.
poor person of, ye gender hai. But actually, we are all marginalized. We all need to be allies to each other. When you use the word inclusive, we are very exclusive. We exclude people because
True.
this is a social conditioning. Whether
Mhm.
we like it or not, we do
Yeah,
it. Everybody does it. You do it in your own way. The way you will treat a driver or your person who works with you. We're not inclusive. We are
people.
exclusive.
Yeah.
Our conditioning needs to change. And that every day that is the learning for all of us.
So I'm trying to bring in some little awareness through my work of SecondAct and doing a program called Dare to Wear Your Pink Boots, which is all about how inclusive we should be in workspaces. And it is not only creating infrastructure, it is actually creating internally a space which is all inclusive. What words are we speaking? What unconscious biases that we carry? What are limiting beliefs that we all have? So, just talking more about them. What is your opinion about inclusivity in corporate spaces?
Well, it's a long way to go. I think the corporates suddenly woke up because it has now become a part of, Posh has become a part of corporate life, right?
Right.
Diversity and inclusion, it's become compulsory. It's part of what the corporate structure is. So now suddenly they've woken up. Where were they all these years? So now also, this whole inclusiveness conversations that we have, and I have a lot of these conversations, and I'm grateful that the corporate companies have started these conversations. But I know that most of them don't believe in it. For most of them, it's a tokenism. चलो टिक करते हैं
Hmm.
बॉक्स में टिक हो गया DNI हो रहा है we'll get one transgender person, one lesbian, one gay person, one person with disabilities, and khatam in a year, four conversations we do khatam.
Hmm.
Nobody really cares. Okay, the change will happen. The inclusiveness change will happen when that person who is actually leading it truly believes in it,
Sure.
and truly from the top level to the absolute bottom, to the partners that work with you, vendors, whatever we call them, at every level, that diversity and inclusion conversations are directed at everybody. Otherwise ये tokenism है अभी तो. I really, at the cost of being thrown out of corporate companies in India, I really think we are not there yet at all.
So since I'm building this workshop as my first step of trying to, create that space, what do you think are some things that we must consider while doing this kind of a workshop together?
Well, first of all, that you must have people who really believe in it. That is the most important thing. Two is, you will, at every workshop, you will have people who will be very close minded. So,
Right.
how do you get their buy in? That is very important. And how do you make them into allies? That is important, right? How do you ensure that the person at the top, not just the HR head, the person at the top management actually buy in to the diversity and inclusiveness, which doesn't really happen because they say, "Hey, agenda hai, kar de." It's like I said, tick in the box. When I use the word buy in, it's not about having DNI workshop like you're doing. It's about making sure that the ethos is maintained, that
Right.
you know why you're doing it. Then you make sure that you don't have these unconscious biases. You
Mhm.
bring in people from outside, DNI. We're talking about the whole LGBTQI community. Bring them into your work, and on the basis of their skills and talent, not because they are from the
Yeah.
LGBTQ community either, and
Right.
treat them well.
Mhm.
No discrimination. Tell people in your organization, if you discriminate, if you abuse, then there will be action taken, and do it. So this is how a change will happen. Otherwise, it's really tokenism. And the one other point I want to make about dare to wear your pink boots. Now, is it targeted at women
No, no,
specifically?
no. It's
No,
just
no.
because
So,
I said pink is basically just standing out. So if you wear a different color, you're just noticed. So it's just about being noticed. It's about standing tall. It's about having a voice. It's about daring to be who you are, bringing your authentic self. So it's just, if I would say, dare to wear your black boots, I mean, it's not standing out. You know what I mean? So it's nothing to do with gender. It's just being noticed.
I love that. That's why I asked for a clarification, because
Yes.
pink, to me, we have associated, and you may have seen my Instagram post on Totally Out now. We associate color to things these days,
Yes.
right? We will say black is dark, white is pure, pink is girls, and blue
Yes.
is boys, or blue
Yes.
makes me feel very low. So we have to ungender
Yes.
colors as well, right? And I'm so glad that you're doing it through this workshop. And that is what we should be talking about, ungendering.
Oh, yeah, that's a beautiful name as well. So thank you for another cue.
Sure.
I think I will put you as my advisor to this workshop.
I'm expensive.
One day I will say you. Please pray that I reach those heights and Second Act does, and it
Of
will, because I
course.
dream of it every day. So it will
Of
reach
course.
somewhere.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Of course.
But coming back to, when I was designing this workshop for corporates, I always feel this needs to start as young as in school. Because, in school, whenever I'm talking to the community, so to say, like yourself, it's such a discovery phase for even everybody, right? I mean, we don't even know how we feel or who we are, and we are still discovering. And then in that transition of like finding our own selves, there are other people who make fun of this whole bit about, being discovered, or, finding my own true self. So I feel somewhere the education has to start really young, and I think we are missing out a lot there. Isn't it true? What's your opinion?
Archana, I so agree with you. I'll tell you, we've been doing something called Coming Out Stories from India. It sits on my YouTube channel, Raga Olga
Yes.
D'silva. Now, that Coming Out Stories from India has opened my eyes even further.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. We did an interview with a 24-year-old girl
Oh.
who's openly gay now. She had the worst time in her school. Okay, I did an interview, and I'm going to take his name, with Shivraj Prasad, who's a very well-known journalist in India. He was with NDTV. His biggest bullying came from Doon School. When he was at Doon School, he was lonely, he was bullied, he also attempted suicide. These things are happening from school. So what I'm saying is, even to my time, it was we got caned for everything by our teachers. But even now, teachers are the one who bully people who are different to what we say is regular people, right? If anybody has a limb, has one eye, has different sexual orientation, is effeminate, teachers don't stop other children from bullying them.
Yes.
So education, our family and our work, right? And our social, they're all interconnected. We start with education. It has to change at school level. In school, we have to teach people about love,
Of course.
whatever that love is, about loving your school student, friend, not a friend, about loving people. Biology needs to change, because in biology class, I don't know whether in my biology class, I think teacher didn't even comment. They did try to do a diagram and said, "Ye pad lo ghar jaake, you study it at home."
I know.
Even the teachers were uncomfortable talking about sex in our classes in school. We need to have these conversations, because it's an important conversation, because now we are talking about a third gender. There's a trans community who's not understood, who has to go through worse shame and fight than even the lesbian and gay community have, you know? So it has to start at school.
I remember I studied in a girls' convent, and the only conversation with the nuns there was that don't go near boys. They're bad boys. They only want to hold your hand. They only want to touch you. So don't go near them. So that is, what we are fed in, that boys are bad. So there is like one gender girl and there's one gender boys. And, don't go near them, and this is all okay. So I'm just saying, yeah, I think there's a lot. And that's why even today, I mean, I'm also touching 50 nearly, but there's so many questions because it's not clear. I'm so glad that I meet people like you, where I'm able to ask questions openly, where you are able to answer openly. And there's so many things I get clarified now at this age. And I feel, oh my goodness, what happened all these years, 5 decades of not
Yeah.
knowing? What are the inclusivity we are talking about? When we talk about that, yes, I am an inclusive person, which I'm not. I don't even know anything. So it's beautiful to like open up, and I hope that youth of today really get inspired by you to come out and speak about their feelings, their emotions, their being the people that they are. And it's a great step.
But the youth of today, while they are really progressive, some of them are still not. It all depends
Yes.
upon the environment they come from and what limiting beliefs or unconscious biases we have faced. I really like your question you asked about the school. I think we should first and foremost sensitize the school teachers and principals, because that is very formative years for us, right? That's why I encourage all the people from the LGBT community. If you get an invitation from a school or a college to speak or a business school to speak, please go and speak. Because I think teachers need to understand. They need to hold your hand first so they can understand and hold the children's hand. Where the child doesn't know, right? We're all fighting it. As a kid, I fought so many demons in my head.
Right.
So then imagine if you're say 10 years old, you're just getting aware of your sexual urges,
Yes.
but you're a boy and you like a boy, you're a girl and you have a crush on a girl, but you're hearing constantly that it is bad, that it is wrong, or somebody's making fun of somebody, and you can't go to your teacher because your teacher will punish you and make you kneel down or cane you or you call your parents and shame you. Who do you go to?
Yes.
Imagine even at 10, the mental health issues start. It becomes a very dark journey, and we don't need to make it this dark. And you're right, and we don't have to wait till 50 to discover this and have to learn and unlearn. I would have
Good.
loved to know this at 20. I
Yes.
think my life would have been far, far, far more, I don't know, magical or spectacular. I already feel I have a magical life, but I think I could have done much better.
Yes, we all could have. But chalo, this is called Der Ai Durust Hai, so at least somewhere it's a
But
start.
नहीं होना चाहिए देर आए दुरुस्त आए.
Nice.
That phrase should be taken out.
Yeah. Bilkul. What you're saying is right. I'm saying at least you made it start. So I'm glad that looking at you, maybe a lot of younger people will also. And thanks to all that your YouTube channel as well. And I have followed it and I hear those stories and it gives me goosebumps. To be honest, it's really hard hitting to say the least. But
Thank you.
bold and very beautiful conversations. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to ask you, if you had to sum up your life, what are the main life learnings that have come out of it?
Oh my God. Because I'll come across as very cynical because people don't see that of me. They see this happy, always
Mm,
positive. But I think that your journey is truly only your journey.
absolutely.
You are really alone. I watched a series yesterday and somebody said to this girl, "You're unique." And this girl says, "Yeah, I'm unique." Unique means lonely.
Oh,
So, I'm a bit of a cynic at times. I feel that it is nobody's there for you. In the end, you have to be there for yourself. I have been in many relationships when I'm talking about not just intimate relationships. I have seen how people abuse somebody. I have seen how people have ghosted me, how people have ostracized me just because of my sexual orientation when I came out. I've seen how people have treated me in that time and how they've treated me in this time when I have come out and I am successful as an entrepreneur and I'm successful as a person. So this world is not the world that I would have really wanted to bring up my children. Seriously, this world is quite shocking. It's very selfish. However, my biggest life lesson is that you have to make a place for yourself. And every morning, that radio station that I have in the morning, every morning when I wake up, I tune in the frequency saying, Aaj you're going to have a magical day. Do not worry. No, don't give power to anybody else to make you feel small because people always try very hard to bring your frequency down to their level. I'm telling you, I really have this. I keep on because I'm like on a public platform, right? I get all kinds of messages. Some make me feel really happy. Most are quite sad and dark.
really?
Okay. Oh, some people say horrible things, and people can say horrible things because they're behind a computer. So you
Shocking.
have to learn. It's why are you shocked? Can't you say what they do all day? इनके पास time है. They are the people that I don't want in my life, but they are there. You can't help it. They are there. You can't control it. So my life lesson is that you have your own radio frequency. Do not let anybody else change that frequency for you. You have the frequency. I have a magic radio, which is actually a radio station in the UK. I try very hard. I also go through dark times. But yeah, my frequency, I will not give even Archana the power to change.
बिल्कुल नहीं देना चाहिए, बिल्कुल नहीं. And that's another thing that I'll take back with me, because I do that every day. I don't call it the frequency, but every morning, waking up and saying, I'm not letting anybody make me go down, So it's in my power to feel good from inside, and I will do that every day. And yeah, I wish that everybody can have that power, and then, we will be such a better world to stay in, because everywhere, oh my goodness, there is so much darkness.
It
So,
is.
yeah.
That is why, I like the name of your program, Second Act, because I think every morning when we wake up, the fact that we wake up every morning, we should celebrate. That's number one, because a lot of people do not wake up. And every morning we should give a chance to have a second act, because
Beautiful.
every day is a chance to live that life. Because maybe we have been horrible the previous night, but you've woken up this morning, you can be a better person today. You can be more evolved today. You may not know about LGBT, for instance, the audience watching, but you can be like the justice in Chennai. I don't know whether you heard that story,
Yeah.
Justice Anand Venkatesh. He
Yes.
didn't know anything, but he decided he was going to educate himself before he made a pronouncement, right?
Yes.
So that is what we have to be. Second act every day to be better versions of ourselves, not a version that anybody else gives us, the version that we believe we are.
It's really a
Okay?
pleasure to speak to you, and I feel that I'm
Thank you.
connecting somewhere deeply with you as well on the topic. And of course, I have a lot of questions, but I will take it to a little lighter note now, and you will tell me, Raga, that what is the fun thing that Raga likes?
Oh, I live fully, okay? First of all, I have a lot of fun. I have lots of videos you will see of me doing. I like to sing, we'll do funny acts. If I have a glass of wine, I'm on the table dancing. I love life, seriously. When I cook, it gives me so much pleasure. When I write, it gives me pleasure. When I have these interactions, it gives me so much pleasure. To me, that is life. Spending time with the kids, my cat from Bombay, I have a cat from Bombay, spending time with my partner, Nicola and I have to tell each other, shut up. People say, because people say, a lot of people come to us and say, yeah, tum log bored nahi hote ho kya? Do you not get bored because you're together 24 by 7, right? And I tell them, you are putting your limitation on me, right? Your version of your relationship with whoever you have. Whereas my version is different. I am with her because I choose to be with her, because I really love her. And I want to be with her because we have so much to talk, to share, and we grow together. Every day we learn from each other. Every day we talk about things that I don't know about or she doesn't know about, and we discover each other every day. To me, that gives me lots of fun and magic.
So with Nicola, are you like a regular couple who's fighting and then somebody is annoying you and then somebody is, oh, you look beautiful, a craving
No,
for
no, no.
compliment, or you didn't look at me today? Is that all? The
This
regular
is
stuff?
this is no, I don't know what is a regular couple, although I have been in a regular marriage, let me say, where ये साड़ी ठीक दिख
हाँ,
रही है, and the
हाँ,
husband will say, हाँ हाँ ठीक है, अच्छी नहीं है तो अच्छी
हाँ,
नहीं है, मतलब
correct.
like that. I don't think that happens with us. I
Okay.
think first of all, like clothing, we choose for each other, we will help each other choose. So every part, when you do things together, and it's not like, in a husband and wife relationship, which I've had for many, many years before I met Nicola, there are roles defined.
Right.
Husband will do this, at least in the conditioning we don't have those roles. We do
Hmm.
everything together, really.
Wow.
If I have to choose to be with Archana in a podcast, I will ask her, I'll say, what do you think? This is, then she will,
Oh,
so it's never a surprise. So
nice.
it's like, it's a beautiful growing together. So yes, we have our fights, and we have huge like arguments about, like, if I say something that is not right, we get into an argument.
Hmm.
But we don't have this manawing and all that. I
Oh.
just let her be, she lets me be, and when we are fine, because then we have next conversation we need to have, we get together. I won't say it's like a regular heterosexual couple, but it's not different either.
Okay.
We still have to cook, we still have to buy groceries. Light हमारे घर पे भी bulb fuse हो जाता है.
हाँ,
That
कौन
all we
ठीक
have to
करता
do. है
है?
ना?
With roles and responsibilities, have you distributed, like who's cooking or who's doing all the skill wala kaam, plumbing se
No,
leke electrical?
see, this is the interesting part. I think in a heterosexual world, I
Hmm.
think it's almost like a corporation
Hmm.
where you have the head of the family, the kids
हाँ.
decided. The role will be this. Then
हाँ.
you have the maids and the help, their role will be this. And then you have the wife whose role will be this. And
Yes.
we don't have such. That is the most beautiful part of a
Oh,
relationship of
nice.
same gender. It's just togetherness. There's no skill, will, kuch bhi nahi hai. We do everything together. Bulb gaya, so one will bring the stool, one will bring the bulb, one will change it. So, it's very difficult to say, but at the same time, of course, I know what is Nicola's strength and she knows my strength. Like the children, for example, if they want anything which is like, Mama, I want a hug, they'll come to me, please. But if they want money or they want something which is
Oh,
important, so they naturally go to Nicola because she knows how to manage those things well. So वो naturally हो जाता है.
so है थोड़ा बहुत. And how old are your kids now?
23. I have
Oh,
twins who are 23.
oh, beautiful. So that's also my son's age. So I think
Okay,
they're
cool.
grown up then. They're grown up,
Yeah,
so they're
yeah.
not kids anymore. So, and
Correct.
twins,
Grown up
daughter
twins.
and son?
Yes, and they are both working and they're flatting on their own, very independent. They only come when they miss mama's food, which is not very regularly.
Their friends and everybody is treating is this like a normal family.
I don't know why you use the term like a normal family. We are a normal family.
Yeah, I mean, because it's different for me, so I would
Yeah,
say it's different for everybody who's like watching you and say, oh, yeah, this happened. This is normal, so we have to accept that.
yeah,
This is normal.
yeah. But yeah, because even in a heterosexual relationship, one may be a Sikh wearing a turban, one may be short husband. So वो भी तो different to your family, right? So we have to
True.
stop saying phrases like a normal family. That's the first thing. If you change for inclusiveness, that would benefit a lot of people. To
Okay.
me, the network that we belong to my children, that we've been brought up, this is not even a question that we would ask.
Okay.
All their friends come home, it's just regular life. Nobody questions us, nobody even feels we are different to them. Very accepting.
But would it be different if you were staying in India like this? What do
I've
you
lived in India with the children for 2 years. Our friends accepted us. We were a couple always. The family was never said, oh, they are. I mean, if they said something behind our backs, we don't know. But we were treated as a family, never not treated like a family. Maybe we don't hang out with people like that, people who are homophobic or prejudiced.
What I hear was that you literally had no money when you were growing up and to having nice, good space life in London. How is that transition today? Do you go back to your days? Of course, when you were writing a book, of course, you went back all the way to your memories. But does it, I mean, bring in anything even now, like with no money and the life that you led? And how has that transition been?
See, we never forget our roots, right? I've felt ashamed of it, I must admit. For many years, I would be ashamed of my upbringing because I lived in a place called Kherwadi in Bandra, which is notorious. Growing up, you never talked about that place. That was the place where the bad gangsters lived. That was a place where activities happened where if you stepped out of the house, you didn't know whether you would come back home alive. It was quite bad, notorious in Bandra, in Mumbai. So I grew up around that. So I was ashamed to talk about my growing up in a slum. I wouldn't talk about it. It's only now I talk about it. I was ashamed. My reading came from the Chana Puri. I used to work in a matchbox factory as a kid. So there are lots of things I was ashamed of. But I own it now. I think because now I see it as a life that I have left behind, but a life I have not forgotten. People, my neighbors, are my closest friends. We are on Facebook, we talk to each other. I have not disowned them. They haven't disowned me. I was shocked that people from those slums, I'm sorry, all of us have come out of it, that they are so accepting of me. Imagine thinking, oh, Raga is a lesbian. And they come from not as privileged as me, let's say now. Very accepting. So I do go back a lot. Not physically, I've not been there for a while, but I do go back in my head a lot. I do own it and I do love that life. I've never forgotten. Archana, never a single day, and I say this on the most people I love the most, not a single day I don't talk about it, not a single day I am not grateful for what I have. I never take it for granted.
And this life you led for how long? Till college?
Till about much after, till about 20 years, when I became independent, that's when I got out of it. My mother still struggled a lot, for a long time. But we've all educated. Education has given us the power. That's why youngsters have to remember education is very important. That is the ticket to changes. As long as you're not just educating yourself on paper, you're educating yourself fully inside as well. You know, especially those teachers.
Yeah, I know, seriously. So when is your next trip to India once things open up? Are you
Well,
coming?
I want to because the only reason I want to come to India is because I miss the pav bhaji and batata vada, the street food. But soon, right now we are on a red list, so that when we come back from India, then we have to quarantine for about 14 days, and it's quite expensive. It's about 2 lakh of rupees for us when we come back to London. So
Oh,
I'll wait. Yeah, I'll wait until maybe next year, early next year, maybe for my next book launch. I'll be
yeah.
there.
So before you go away, I want to know more about your next book. So tell us, what is
Well,
it
I'm
about?
writing quite a few books actually, one at a time. So one is the
Acha.
coming out stories that we are doing. So
Okay.
that is going to be converted into a book as well. Nicola and I are writing that book right now. There is another book that I'm co-authoring where we're writing stories of women's stories of inspiration. And my book, the memoirs that I'm writing, is my journey from that point when I came out to my husband, when I was forced to come out, to my life today. It's quite a very dark journey. I don't know how many people would like to read it, but it's a very, very, very dark journey.
I'm sure people would like to read. You know how we are. We really want to know all the dark sides. We don't want to tell us. When kisi aur ki dark side, yeah, I want to know more about you. Very brave act, very courageous. I think that in itself says it all for you. I cannot wait to see you in person. And thank you so much again for this time. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Archana. And I know for a fact that second act is going to be the best thing that ever happened. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Seriously. And thank you for having me here and for this conversation. I love your energy and I hope to see you in India. Or if you come to London, please look us up. Let's keep changing the narrative, yeah, one story at a time.
Yes.
A life purpose, if I have to say anything to people, I would say that live life meaningfully. Waste mat karo, yaar. It's a very precious life. Do something that you feel proud of.
Yeah.
Trolling people, writing horrible things to people, that's not going to make you feel proud. If you can't say something kind, don't be unkind.
So
Zindagi jio, make it magical for yourself and make it beautiful for the other person. That's all we can do,
very
you know.
nice. The more I'm speaking to you, I don't want you to go at all. But we will chat up more offline. And of course, I keep watching you through all your Instagram and YouTube channels. I'm also going to convert this into a book of second acts, of the most beautiful second acts that have come out. So I'm also making notes of it every day when I, finish a conversation, to say this one I must put it into a nice book. So thank you. Your story goes in that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really. So thanks again, and so beautiful to be with you.
Thank you, Archana. Thank you for having me on the second act.